Hey Casabangs crew, welcome back. We are in Unit 7. We are on video number 4. Today we are going to talk about stress. All right, so our textbook definition of stress: mental and physical condition that occurs when a person encounters some demand or expectation and must adjust or adapt to the environment. Okay, most of the time when we talk about stress, we think of stress as a negative thing, but a certain amount of stress is healthy. A certain amount of stress is very positive. So there's different kinds of stress that we talk about. So distress is the negative stress. It's the negative one. Eustress is the positive stress that we're talking about. So this eustress pushes people to achieve or accomplish your goals. So a little bit of stress is healthy for you. So there is a difference between stress and a stressor. So the stressor is something that causes a state of strain or tension. So a stressor causes stress. So it's an event or a situation. So a couple of examples: divorce, death, illness, spilled milk, a flat tire, a test today, getting married, the birth of a baby, or emotional problems like anxiety or depression. So there are 4 different components of the stress response system. So the first are stressors, like the ones that we just talked about. So some stressors can be really small and pretty insignificant, like spilled milk or something like that. Others can be very difficult and very long-lasting. So think of illness, death in the family, moving to a new home, getting married. Even though those are good events, the birth of a baby, even though they're good events, they can be very, very stressful. And then the second component is your physical response to that stress. So think of any time that you have felt stress. What physical symptoms do you experience? Your heart might start racing. You might tense up your muscles. You might start breathing heavily. You might feel tension in your neck or in your back. So any of those physical responses that you have to stress, you might, start getting a stomach ache or a headache, something like that. And then your psychological response. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you feel depressed? Does it make you feel worried? And then your behavioral response. What do you do as a result of your stress? Okay, what kinds of things do you emotionally eat? Do you lash out and yell at your friends and family? Do you want to sleep more? Does it make you buckle down and work harder? So that behavioral response that you experience due to stress. So there are a bunch of different stressful life events or different categories of stress. Catastrophic events, these are things that are unexpected and very difficult. So things like earthquakes, combat stress for our veterans or our service members, floods, okay? A lot of things that are very unexpected but extremely high stressful situations. Life changes. So like I said, death of a loved one, divorce, having a baby, loss of a job, being promoted, buying a new house, those kind of things. Chronic stressors. So chronic stressors are things that you deal with day in and day out. So these can be things like depression, anxiety, living in poverty, living with racism. These are all chronic stressors. And then just the daily hassles. So the day-to-day things that you may experience one day, but you might not experience every day. So getting stuck in rush hour traffic, being in a really long line, having a particularly stressful day at your job, being burnt out from your friends or from school or from your job. Hans Seeley developed this theory of how our body deals with stress, so the physical response to stress. And he called it the General Adaptation Syndrome, abbreviated to GAS or GAS. So it is important that you remember that abbreviation. So he said that our body adapts to stress in 3 different stages. So here on the graph, this is where that particular stressor occurs. So it could be something as easy as having a flat tire or something more difficult of dealing with a long-term illness. Okay, so here's where that stressor occurs. So this first phase is what he called phase 1. This is the alarm reaction. So your body is mobilizing its resources. So this is where your sympathetic nervous system is activated, that stress system is activated, and your fight or flight response is activated. So your body is getting ready to either fight off a danger or escape a bad situation. So this is where your stomach stops digesting its food. This is where your heart starts increasing, your heartbeat starts increasing, your pupils dilate. So that alarm phase is your body getting ready to have to deal with that stressor. And this alarm phase can be, 15, 20 minutes, or this alarm phase can be several days to several months, depending on what the type of stressor. Phase 2 is the resistance phase. And again, this is usually where we have the longest time in this phase. And again, our body is coping with the stressor. Our sympathetic nervous system remains on high alert. Okay, so it is very active. So you might still be experiencing all of those physical symptoms of your sympathetic nervous system being activated. Again, this is the longest phase. This could be a few minutes to a couple hours to a couple years if you are dealing with a stressor that is a long-term or a chronic type stressor. And then the last stage is stage 3. This is our exhaustion stage. And this is where your body says, I can't do it anymore. Okay. Everything being, the sympathetic nervous system being activated and all of your energy and all of your reserves being diverted to these particular parts of your body is exhausting. And at some point, your body is going to say, I can't do it anymore. And you are just going to enter exhaustion stage where you might literally be exhausted, where you sleep for days, or your body then encounters some sort of illness that makes you stop and take a break, or makes you stop and take care of yourself and slow down a little bit. So a lot of times in college, when you have midterm exams, right? You've got midterm exams at the beginning of December and you're pulling all-nighters and you're studying, and you're working so hard, and your body is in that fight or flight response, and it's constantly diverting energy and resources to the bodily functions that you need to help you, stay up all night and keep studying. And then once you get done with your exams, then you can't come down with like a horrible case of the flu and you're in bed for like a week. Okay, that's that exhaustion stage, saying your body cannot handle that type of stress, that type of reactivity for too long. And this is where, when you're dealing with chronic stressors that go on for months and months or years at a time, this is where your body can start to develop significant health issues. And we're going to talk about those in just a second. So conflict, we have, conflict is a source of our stress. So this is the pull between two opposing desires or two opposing goals. So there are 3 different types of conflict that we talk about. The first is approach conflict. So this is the choice between 2 appealing outcomes. So you have to make a choice, but both of the choices are pretty good. So it's a pretty low stress, easy to resolve situation. Are we going to have homemade mac and cheese for dinner tonight, or are we going to have a nice steak? Okay, both options are really great. So it's a pretty low stress sort of conflict. Then there's avoidance conflict. So this is a choice between 2 unappealing outcomes, and you have to choose one, but they both sort of suck. And this is definitely a bit more stressful than the approach conflict. So for example, you stayed out past curfew last night and you got caught, and your mom says, all right, now you have to choose your punishment. You either lose your car or you lose your phone. Okay, both of those choices really suck, but you are stuck having to choose one of them. And then the last source of conflict is approach avoidance conflict. So this is a choice between one goal that has appealing and unappealing aspects to it. So this is your most stressful type of conflict. And this is where it's often really difficult to make a decision, that you might waffle, or you might go back and forth and think, okay, I've made the decision, and then kind of think about it and you're like, wait, what about this? So this could be choosing a college. Okay. So you really would like to go to USF because it's really close to home, and you know that you could live at home and save money, but you also kind of want to enjoy campus life, so you don't necessarily really want to stay at home. Okay, so it's a choice that you have to make that has both positive and negative outcomes to it. Another thing about stress that we talk about is type A versus type B personality. So type A personality is the person that is go, 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 super driven, super on the go, very time urgent, can sometimes be very aggressive or hostile, very intensely ambitious, and very, very competitive. Type A personality is associated with a higher incidence of heart disease as you get older. And then type B personality is a much, much more easygoing, sort of go with the flow kind of person. Obviously not associated with heart disease, because this more easygoing, go with the flow kind of person isn't as stressed. They are not experience such high levels of stress like our type A personality is. So we're talking about how stress impacts your immune system and impacts your body. So one of the largest disorders or diseases that is directly linked to stress is coronary heart disease. So it clogs the vessels that nourish our heart. So this is one of the leading causes of death in many, many developed countries, including the United States. And coronary heart disease is one of those diseases that can be prevented by lowering or dealing with your stress levels. So how do we cope with those stress levels? How do we deal with our stress so that it doesn't adversely affect our body? So there's a couple of different ways. You can find social support. Okay, so resources provided by other people, your friends, your family, going out and having dinner and being able to vent your emotions or your stress to someone else can often help. Emotion. Expressing concern, expressing empathy, expressing positive regard, again, for that person that is dealing with a stressful situation. There are tangible supports, things like direct assistance, like lending money, providing meals in times of discomfort, giving them a ride to work when they get a flat tire. Those kind of things can immediately decrease a person's stress. And then informational, so suggestions or advice, reading information about different things that you can do to help with your stress. And then there's one major stress relieving activity, and that is exercise, and it has a lot of different benefits. So you can strengthen your heart, lower blood pressure. It will help you lower blood pressure that is, high because of stressful situations. It releases chemicals like norepinephrine, serotonin, and endorphins into your body, which automatically allows for that pleasure center or the reward center of our brain to fire. It gives us a sense of accomplishment, when we go out for a 5-mile run and we've done it, and we feel good about that. And then it has the added benefit of helping to improve our physique and our physical health. All right, so we are going to talk some more about stress. We're going to do some stress relieving activities in class. So make sure that you bring your questions into class, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.